Hey, I think we're good to go. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Crypto Pulse Weekly, our weekly analysis of the markets and review of the technical structure within the cryptocurrency markets. Sorry for the feedback. Uh, that was off my YouTube live stream. Welcome once again for Crypto Pulse Weekly for today. Hopefully, I believe I'm sharing my screen. I think I'm going to try to do it again because, yeah, it should be fine now. Okay, good. Thank you and welcome once again to Crypto Pulse Weekly. This week, we'll be looking at a lot of interesting developments because for the first time since the month of April, Bitcoin is trading above $60,000. That is a significant milestone of gargantuan proportion. So today we're talking about the price of Bitcoin as usual. Um, we'll give a market update, talk about the vital signs, which is basically the technical analysis and the market structure for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the overall market capitalization of the cryptocurrency space. Then we'll talk about knowledge sharing session, which is today we're talking about security and securing your crypto assets. As you might have been aware, I've been preaching and evangelizing to everybody that cares to hear since the month of May that the top is not in yet, and that whatever correction or dip we may have in the market was not the end of the bull run. But I believe this week has justified all those weeks of convincing and trying to convince a lot of people on social media and on WhatsApp that the bull run was not yet over. And I think I'll be able to prove to you furthermore today that actually we're just getting started at this point in time. And if I were to quote some people, that 60,000 might be the bottom for the next bull run or for the next bear markets. So let's get started. As usual, we'll talk about the market updates. In today's market updates, we've touched 61K today, which is quite dramatic. I was telling someone that I had to close my short positions because it was obvious that the market was not taking the correction anytime soon. Not to say that the market wasn't going to take the correction, but you don't know how far you're going to go up before having the correction. So if you're taking a short position in leverage terms, you might be wiped out for them. In the short term, we expect that Bitcoin will make a correction. Personally, I think the correction will be above 65 or 66K. And I will explain on the charts when we get to the crypto drip section. In terms of regulation, we saw today that NASDAQ has approved for listing the Valkyrie ETF starting on Monday, which in essence means that that ETF has been approved by SEC. So the document that has been circulated around and that shared on WhatsApp, it's a memo from NASDAQ to Valkyrie, I think. I'll just give me a second. Let me open up that. Let me open up that document again. Yeah, so it's NASDAQ regulation from the Vice President of Listing to SEC. So what they are saying was that they've certified that on 15th of October, they received the ETF, a copy of the application for registration as shares of beneficial interest for Valkyrie Bitcoin Strategy ETF. So what they're saying is they've approved for listing. So in essence, SEC will just need to append their signature and then go ahead with it. That's the expectation. However, my thinking is if SEC doesn't approve on Monday, or if SEC approves on Monday, I think we're going to see a crash, just like we witnessed the crash during the I think that was Bitcoin Day during the adoption of Bitcoin as legal tender in El Salvador. And it's just following the same age-old principle of buy the rumor, sell the news. So the market is buzzing now, and I think the excitement is too much. Not that I don't want the price of Bitcoin to go up, it's obviously going to go up, but I think the market is hyping the news. And when it eventually happens on Monday, I think you will see some significant drop. Now, it depends on where the drop is coming from, anyways. But the good thing will be that we would have surpassed the all-time high of 64,800 plus, which means we will have put in a higher high, and everybody then knows that, okay, this is a correction and not basically the end of a cycle. On the back of that, we also have the US Treasury publishing new sanctions, saying that there are some guidance for crypto businesses or exchanges in line with OFAC regulation. So OFAC regulation is sort of a financial accountability and disclosure body globally that the bank operates by that standard to say that we can verify the source of the money you're keeping with us. However, despite all this regulation, and just as a side note, I observed that the level of fraud and financial chicanery that's going on in the banking sector is astounding. It's almost like none of the anti-money laundering and OFAC regulatory measures has any effect, because we've had these things in place now for over a decade, and you still see sanctions come out and say they're fining Deutsche Bank so billion or so $1 million because of money laundering for so people. And it keeps repeating itself. It's just like, they do the money laundering, then the regulatory body comes and say, yeah, you're doing it wrong. And they say, oh, we're sorry. And they slap them on the wrist and give them some fine. And they just keep on going on. And then they come up with another set of regulation as if the regulation is going to change anything. Anyways, basically what they're saying is sanctions will be applied to any crypto company, especially in the US, that doesn't follow the OFAC guidelines in terms of anti-money laundering and transparency of ownership of funds. I think that's quite ridiculous, but I mean, that's not my business. For guys in the US, they'll probably worry about that later, but I don't think it's good. It's good that they have something in place. It shows that we're getting into mainstream. But over and above that, yeah, I think it's just virtue signaling, to be honest. So on the short term, personally, I'm cautiously bullish because we're approaching the limits of the market, and I will show that we're approaching the limits of the market on many levels. So I'm cautious, even though I'm bullish, I'm cautiously bullish because I expect the market to pull back. How far it pulls back is anybody's guess. I have my own projections for the pullback, and definitely I will be waiting for the market at those levels. Definitely. After those levels, I think we're good to go to the moon, as they say. Like after if we hit 60, I said 67K, right? If we hit 67K this weekend and we take a correction, after that correction, I think we're going to the moon. Basically, I think regardless of how deep the correction is, I think we're going to the moon, because what it means is we would have put in a higher high on a higher time frame. And even if we wick down to the 50s, we still have that higher high in place, as I've said. So let's get on with the news items. In terms of bull run assessments, I had this thing at 59K before. I changed it to 60K. Forgot to change it to 61K because the price has just been dancing and dancing around. Both the price and what's it called, the market cap and the Bitcoin dominance. The figures have been changing rapidly, almost every hour within the last 4 hours. So I've just left these figures there. We still have that all-time high new addresses, and exchange outflows are actually at the lowest point ever. And they don't seem to be any supply above 60K, really and truly. So any supply that we have above 60K now is just coming into the exchanges, or maybe people are just adjusting their sell positions that were at 59K. So in the light of that, I think we are ready for that leg up for the parabolic run. I'll come back to that later. ProShares is is another company that is interested in launching Bitcoin ETF. They've applied. They're expecting that they're going to get approval. And I just went to their website and I saw interested in Bitcoin, exploring BTCFX. So that's their own ETF. All in all, I think we might expect to see about 4 ETFs approval next week. So it's either they approve it next week or they disapprove it next week. From what we've seen so far from NASDAQ, the Victory ETF is likely going to get approval. But bear in mind that the Victory ETF was the one I talked about last week, which is why I said I'm cautiously bullish. Was the one I talked about last week, saying that this is an ETF that is based on companies with pure Bitcoin plays, like MicroStrategy, like BlockFi, like Square, companies that have very large holdings or cash. That's what this particular ETF is about. So in essence, this ETF is approved, really. It's just that it's going to list, probably going to list on Monday on NASDAQ. Of course, it's going to send this price soaring, even though this ETF is not based on Bitcoin. This ETF is based on the shares of companies that are heavily invested in Bitcoin, either by direct balance sheet exposure or by the nature of business. So big news in its own right, but the real news that we're waiting for, which is why I said, I'm just a bit cautious after we blow out of all-time high, is Monday, and which is the SEC approval for the other 4. So this Victory approval is already in play, like I just said. We've already gotten the approval last week. NASDAQ is signaling back to SEC that we're going to put them up for listing. So these guys, I think, will launch on Monday. We'll probably have that ETF trading on NASDAQ by Monday morning. However, the additional 4, and I can't remember those 4 now, that are based on Bitcoin futures are the ones that are really expected on Monday. Regardless of what happens on Monday, anyway, if we get approved on Monday, I think the market will weak both ways. And that's why I said volatility is expected from tonight. And the reason I said so, and I think Lukman was the one that was saying, volatility is both ways. Yes, it is both ways. And the essence or the reason for volatility, just for basic principles in market making, is that you want to wipe the floor with as many traders as possible as a market maker. So if you took Forex, just making reference to Forex or Forex trading, for instance, on high news or very important news day, like non-farm payroll days, which I think is the first Friday of every month. On those days, you see that when you check the charts, the hour that news gets released, you see that the week goes up and down. It really doesn't make any decision that particular hour, regardless of whether the news is bad or good. The reason is that there are people that believe that the news will be good, so they take a position with the news, and there's some people that believe the news will be bad, they take position against the news. So for the market maker, they push it in either direction and take out, if you're unlucky and it bets on against you in the first instance, they'll take you out, then the market goes the other way. So I expect that we'll see such fireworks on Monday. Very interesting to see what will happen. If we wick down and we wick back up and it doesn't stay down, which is we go down to like 55 or 53, and then the market, stays above 60, that would be a very wicked beginning of a very wicked move up, like very, very wicked move up. But definitely, I will have my limit orders around 55 personally, because I think the market has potential to drop that low, given the surge in volume and in price that we've seen so far. So many people who have stood on the sideline, many people have, backed out of Bitcoin since it fell from 60K in April. Many people will be getting in now that Bitcoin is trading at 61. Market makers are aware of that. So they want to take advantage of mopping the floor with all the noobs and the spectators or speculative traders before the market takes its due course. So I just thought to mention that for people who are asking which direction and whether we should take profit. Yes, I think personally at 67K, I'll take profit on my long position. Uh, I mean that's my view because I believe at 67K we've reached a peak where the market either goes into consolidation or frank correction. Um, just to point out, the next two slides are companies that invested in Bitcoin last year, and as of right now, their investment have doubled essentially as a company. One is MicroStrategy, two is Square. Square is the payments company owned by largely by Jack Dorsey's Twitter, and they're the owner of Cash App. So these companies have a huge exposure to Bitcoin, and right now, the Bitcoin investment has essentially doubled. So that's going to make the news on Monday, obviously. So I think overall, there's a lot of, as we call it in crypto speak, hopium, hopium with the H, meaning, a lot of good feeling on the markets about the price. I think that's going to probably last for the weekend because, as I said, a lot of people in the spot markets who we suddenly see on CNBC and Bloomberg tonight that Bitcoin is above 60K. Wake up tomorrow morning and start looking for their Coinbase and Robinhood wallets and looking for a way to get on the market. So yeah, I expect that to drive up the volume during the weekend. And considering the fact that we have very low volume in the spot market, that's likely to push the price very rapidly during the weekend. So watch out for fireworks during the weekend and on Monday. In another news, part of the hopium is Binance. Binance, as you probably know, is the biggest cryptocurrency exchange by market cap and pure volume currently. And I think it was yesterday that they announced, or day before yesterday, they announced a 1 billion actually. I think it's 1 billion. 1 billion development fund for the Binance Chain ecosystem. This is the biggest investment in recent times in overall in development, and I think it's going to push a lot of finance projects in the coming months and in the coming years. Interesting story. I carried a story about Russia last week, but an interesting story that came out this week was that the government of Russia is conducting an assessment on people's cryptocurrency holdings, and the reason they're doing that simple. $36 billion has left circulation in Russia, has basically left the banks. So the government is probably worried that, like, where is this money? Where has this money gone? Obviously, it's gone into crypto because the banks have not been able to account for 36 billion that has been wiped off their balance sheets. I think the same thing is probably applicable in Nigeria and places like US and even UK, because a lot of people are realizing that the banks are trash, savings accounts are a scam, and basically you do yourself a disservice. The disservice keeping your money in the bank. So people are moving their money from bank to exchanges. So I think we'll see some reaction from Russia in the coming weeks or months in that regard. China again. I'm not surprised though, but it's just to say that because of China's governance and what do you call it now? Leadership style, the communist leadership style. It's sort of incongruent with the kind of adoption that crypto brings. A communist system is sort of a closed loop system that ensures that, it's supposed to ensure that you circulate the resources under the supervision of the government in equal proportion. But again, over time, history has shown that most of these communist governments become oligarchies because the leadership becomes the elites and the people are, the masses. So eventually, there are two tiers of there are two tiers of governments. of governments. So at the top, they will say it's communism, but really and truly at the on the overall, pretty much an oligarchy because the ruling party or the people in charge of government over time arrogate power to themselves, thus defeating the original intent of that style of governance. And that's exactly what's happening here. So now they banned crypto for whatever time, they've chased out the miners. They now, blocking all fiat ramp ups are basically how you can chase crypto from fiat currencies. Um, and not only that, they're also blocking social media feeds and censoring social media feeds that talk about crypto. So you can't even talk about crypto. What I think is going to happen is what has happened in Nigeria. They're going to create a parallel economy with DeFi, and not only will that parallel economy run below the radar of the government, they will probably have a decentralized, and this is me just thinking about, human innovation. They'll probably have a decentralized P2P platform within China. And I think somebody's going to come up with it because it will be an extremely lucrative market for you to create a decentralized P2P market in such a way that I can send money to you, they can send money to me, and then we have a smart contract that is managing or holding our funds in trust while we exchange value for each other. I think that's what's going to happen eventually for China. But it's it's important to note that in the month of September, US has flipped China as the major mining hub in the world. So it used to be China, now it's US. Most of the miners are now in US, essentially, because they're getting bought up by US companies and venture capitalists are providing them funds. So many of them are either already located in the US or are being owned by the US company and operated offshore. This news is about Bank of Japan. Another crypto news. If you remember last year, I think that was last year, must have been last year's October, when I started talking about CBDCs and CBDC pilots, the Bank of Japan, the Bank of Canada, the European Central Bank, and one other bank, I can't remember, I think Australian Central Bank, were piloting a CBDC project that started at the beginning of this year. So now they're saying, they want to prioritize simplicity in their design, meaning that they've run the pilots and they have some feedback. I won't be surprised that 2022 will be the year of central bank digital currency, which our Nigerian CBN was trying to front run to no avail. Anyways, I'm moving on. I'm moving on for that one. Coin Spotlight again. I'm bringing back Shiba Inu, and the reason I'm bringing back Shiba Inu is not really so that you can buy. I mean, if you already bought goods, you can just hold and wait. The reason I'm bringing back Shiba Inu is because one, it originally was a meme coin, pure meme coin, but now it's gone into serious ecosystem play. As of today, Shiba Inu has climbed into top 20. That is really, really significant compared to, it's absolutely significant. And because unlike Dogecoin, Shiba Inu actually has utility. It has a DEX platform. They're working on NFTs. They have all sorts. And recently, I think this week, they got listed on 4 major exchanges, additional major exchanges. And the community is growing. So it's almost like half of the community in Dogecoin have migrated into Shiba Inu and they've become this fanatic or bigots of some sort. And, that's really pumping up the price. They have a lot of social media noise around it as well. So I will not be surprised. Personally, I will not be surprised if Shiba Inu, I was telling somebody that Shiba Inu can still do 100x. And they were saying that, that doesn't make sense because that would make it equal to the market capitalization of Ethereum. And I said, you are looking at it in the light of the current market capitalization of crypto. Some people have projected that the market capitalization of crypto at the end of this bull run will be 10 billion. That's 4x from where we are. if we do go to 4x from where we are, what it means, essentially what it means is that Bitcoin itself will probably be like, yeah, will probably be like 4 or 5x from where we are. And altcoins will really, really be very crazy. And because altcoins don't move at once, the funds sort of move from coins to coins. So if we go that high in terms of overall market cap, that fund has to find a way to exit the market through altcoins. And it will surely touch the top 20, definitely. Then to touch the lower caps. So it's not like all the prices will go up at the same time. You have coins moving up and hitting crazy all-time highs at different points in time based on their categories. And I can't talk about that today. I'll probably talk about that next week, meaning the categories of the coins and how they sort of move at the end of the cycle. So I expect that we'll see some fireworks, definitely 10 to 20x from where we are, might be more, but conservatively, that's what I'm looking for from Shiba Inu. In terms of where we are, crypto vital signs, we've added 180 billion in market cap the last 1 week. 330 billion has gone into altcoins, and dominance has reached, in fact, I think this 46% is now not accurate because I think if I go to the chart, it's probably increased. Where is um, yeah, okay, still at 46.5. So we're still good at 46.5 then. So yeah, for 6.5 Bitcoin dominance, huge comeback from last week's low. And I think it signals we're entering a strong Bitcoin season. So for people who have been asking, should we switch to Bitcoin? If you have altcoins in profits, yes, you can switch to Bitcoin because Bitcoin is going to move. Or you can even switch to Litecoin. Even though that Litecoin doesn't move as fast as Bitcoin, but when Bitcoin eventually stops, its overall movement is a lot more than that of Bitcoin. Not a financial advice, as always. It's just an observation. Uh, and like everybody says, this is for educational and entertainment purpose only. The public disclaimer. Anyways, that's where we are in terms of the market cap. In terms of fear and greed, we actually scaled back a bit. Last week we were at 74. So right now we're good. We're good. Everybody's still cautious, despite the fact that we've really exceeded a lot of metrics. Everybody's still very cautious, expecting that pullback. I think the market will drag us forward a bit before any significant pullback, just to make sure that people are comfortable, quote unquote. So in terms of where we are, I think we're back to feel now. We're about to just step into euphoria. I think we'll be in full euphoria by the time we hit 100K. As again, 100K is in play. I was never in doubt I was going to hit 100K. And I think given what we've seen now, we're definitely going to exceed 100K. Let's just keep it there. 100K is in play and it's inevitable at this point. Because as I will show you from the charts, we have evidence to suggest that that's likely to happen. If you remember this chart I've been showing you for the last 2 weeks, comparing the 2013 market pattern and market structure with that of 2021. We've literally been following with, a few variations. So in 2013, we did have the blow off. Our blow off was not that significant in 2021. And then we have the July deviation, which, was the end of the dip. And then we started to pump. And then we had a dump at the end of September in 2013. We witnessed the same thing here. And if you are being honest now, you will agree with me. This chart was about beginning of October-ish. So you agree with me now that we started the climb upward. So what I'm saying is I expect that, yes, in a climb upward, we'll probably be here, see some major pullback, just like we had 200 to 160 here, which yeah, which was like 20% pullback. So I am definitely expecting that 20% pullback. When we do have that pullback, then we're going to have a slingshot. That's why I said whenever that pullback happens, I'm all in, because it means we are going absolutely parabolic in terms of price action. So we have this there to suggest that we're definitely following that pattern, and I'll show you, I mean, from a couple of things now, why I think we're going that route. So first, this thing is disturbing me. Unfortunately, once I hide it, okay, I hope I'll be able to pull it back up, because once I hide it now, I can't see it anymore. Anyways, so let's start with Bitcoin USD. And the reason I wanted to show this chart was because I don't know how many people remembered when I was drawing monthly charts, saying that based on various, let me just press this, that's based on various projections that the expected top was around, is that, no, oh, sorry about that, messed it up. I think once, yeah, probably try, yeah. So yes, so what I was trying to do was actually measure this curve, which showed that we should expect top of the cycle at 271,000 plus. That's like 900% from 27K, which was the bottom in the bottom before July. Yeah, it looks incredible, but on a larger time frame, and if you compare, so if I change this to logarithmic charts, yeah, I think, yeah, that's what I wanted to do. So if I change this to logarithmic charts, you see that, yeah, actually, yeah, this brings it out better. So if I change this to a logarithmic chart, what it is showing is that since the inception of Bitcoin, we've practically been going in like ascending channel slash ascending wedge. What that means is that the price is going up, and the price is ping-ponging between two walls. The upper wall being this one, which was at 1,000 in 2013, and the lower walls being the one we had in 2011 at the inception of documenting the price. And then we touched it briefly during the COVID crisis in March last year, when the market went to 3.5. Yeah, it was about 3.6, 4,000. So the projection is that for each cycle, you will see the market touch each end of the wall. So we've seen this in 2013. It dropped back, it didn't quite touch it. Then went all the way up 2017. This was the original bottom of the bear market in 2019. And we were already gearing up for the bull market before COVID happened. And that brought us down before we started this climb. So if we follow that trajectory, the expectation is that we're going all the way up. If we're going all the way up, the roof here is pretty much around 270,000-ish. So if we break up, definitely we'll probably not close above 270,000. It'll probably just be weakening up above the 270, 280, 300 and back. And then the expectation is the market will then come and gradually touch on these levels again, or have a sharp drop like we witnessed here and come back to this level. Now, if we plot that, that brings us back to like 60K, which is what some of the analysts that were on social media were saying, that 60K may actually be the bottom. Technically, yes, it looks possible that 60K might be the bottom of the bear market in the coming years. So this is the long-term chart, and I always try to keep this chart in mind because it shows where the market, basically shows the limits of the market and what we're likely to see. So definitely I think 300K is in play. We might not close any week or month at 300K. My peak 300K might be the low blow off top. 300 or 400 at the most should be the blow off top for Bitcoin. And it's funny because I just adjusted this price projection curve, I think at the beginning of September. And the markets on the monthly, the market seems to be following it almost to the letter. So this, let me change the color. Yeah, I just adjusted that curve in September, and the market seems to be throwing that line. So what it means is, if we're going to hit this, then the market needs to go parabolic pretty much for the next 3 to 4 months. So that's my, if you ask me, that's my top of the notch price for Bitcoin projection. Yes, it looks crazy, but the charts and the technical suggests that that is what it is. On a daily, so let me take the intraday now. On the daily charts, we have a very powerful. I mean, this is how much now? 57 to. It's a very powerful move upward today. 7% on the day. Uh, when I see this kind of candle, it tells me that the market is going to, go higher, and that's why I said I have my highs on 67K, and I think 67K from 7K. So I have another. Just give me a second. Let me look for that. Yeah, this one. No, this. I've closed the chat. So I had another chat where, yeah, okay, it's this one. So 67K. The reason I'm saying 67K is very obvious. So if you take a look at April, when we picked out here at 64,873, the first 1, 2, 3, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 days after. The following 4 days after we picked, we dropped 20%, 20.5% to around 49,000 before the market went on to slump. Then the rebound attempt in May before we took that correction. So my projection based on that is, if we hit 67K, which is what my chart is suggesting, our correction point is here. If we take a 20% dump, that's 53,612. So for people asking, should we take profit? Yes. Personally, I will take profit at 67K. Regardless, I'll take profit at 7K and watch, because what this suggests to me is that the market is definitely gearing to hit 67K. It only needs about a day of this kind of candle to touch 67K. And once it touches 67K, it fulfills the laws of market structure. And then you either go into a consolidation, which means we're going sideways, or we take a correction. But knowing this market, because many people will be taking profits around the same time, there's likelihood that the market is going to take a plunge. So if it takes a plunge, you have a supply and demand level at 60. It's not a strong level because the market has only been above 60K for, so I mean, total of less than a week times of number of days. But the real supply level is in this zone, 49K and 50. I think many people be front running like myself. So I think we'll probably bounce off 54, 55K in the final analysis. So that's the way I see the markets currently. For everybody's asking about volatility and where the market is going, that's the way I think the market is going to go. And on a larger time frame, actually, I think my projections have been, but I don't mind the very many trend lines. So I think my projections have been largely accurate, especially upward. They've been largely accurate. Because if you remember this circle, for guys on WhatsApp, this circle I drew it in July. And what I was saying then was that on the weekly time frame, we couldn't break the 12-month moving average at the time. From the weekly time frame, I don't have that 12-month moving average, but I had it. Not waste time. If I plotted it, that 12-month moving average actually like just crosses here around 31,000. And what I was saying there was that we tried to break it for more than 5 times and we've not succeeded. And now we're bouncing up. That was on the 21st of July. And I said, my opinion, we were in for the local bottom. Actually, that was the local bottom before 1K and dropped 40K. So again, eyes on 67K for the following week, and we'll see how that pans out. In terms of Ethereum, Ethereum is really the younger brother, and whatever Bitcoin does, Ethereum is good. I think 4,000 is now becoming inevitable. Last all-time high was 4,380. I think we touched 4,005 or 4,750 before we pull back. And if you ask me, what's the base of your projection, David, and why are you giving this? A very simple analogy. The overall market cap, which is called total on TradingView, peaked at this point in April. Oh, sorry, in May. Sorry, in May, which is 2.579 trillion. You can see from the charts right now that we've touched it today. We've touched it and back, essentially, just today. If the price continues to move up, what I see happening is it will break upwards and probably go at the minimum, try 2.7. At 2.7, it means the overall market cap of Bitcoin itself is going to go up. So if you compare this overall market cap of crypto to, where is the one for Bitcoin? To this one, sorry, which is the one for Bitcoin. It's almost like they're dancing, in symphony. The only thing is that the one for Bitcoin is yet to hit the previous all-time high, which is explained by the price as well. We've not gotten back to 64,000 yet. By the time this goes up and hits 1.2 trillion, then we'll be definitely above 64,000. And by this time, I think we'll be around that 67K, at which time I expect that we will take a breather in terms of the market cap. This is altcoin market cap as well. Now we've done 1.3 trillion. I think that's, where is that? Oh. So I had the Fibonacci originally and sort of show what we can expect in terms of top for altcoins. Yes, Fibonacci originally showed about double the current market cap. So that's a very conservative estimate. Double the current market cap means that the overall market cap in itself, which is this one, will be sitting at 3.2. So if we're sitting at 3.2 and we're sitting at 2.3, definitely there will first be price movement to Bitcoin, then the price movement will go into altcoins, and we obviously will push altcoins into to another level, as they say. Bitcoin dominance is up. I don't know why this. Bitcoin dominance is up. I think we're 46,500 and 46.5 now, which means that this was the bottom when we touched 39.7. Not really. 39.7 was all-time low from 2017. I remember, yeah. It was all-time low from 2018 January. So we've not touched back on that. I think we will approach, we'll approach 49 or 48 before any significant correction in terms of dominance. So before we can say we're going to have an altcoin season, we will have that hit for 7K, probably that pullback, that sharp pullback, and then the odds will moon for a few days before Bitcoin resumes its journey upwards. I just brought up this Shiba chart just to show you what the likelihood will be in terms of market cap. So this is the market cap right now. It's 9.7. It went as high as 14 billion. I think 21 billion is the next level, which is double, just by market cap, is double the all-time high of Shiba Inu. And that's why I said we might want to pay some attention to Shiba Inu. Not just because it was originally a meme, but because it's gaining utility and the utility is getting stronger. So I think that's that for a lot of chat talks today. Sorry for the non-technical people. let's talk about crypto drip. Okay, sorry, I have a question. Shall we be taking profit? Yes. Um, as I said, I'll be taking profits. If Bitcoin gets 67K, I will take some profit off Bitcoin and wait for a pullback before re-entry. It only makes sense. Um, in terms of today's discussion around securing your crypto assets, I'll just talk through it because I really didn't have time to put up a slide or to put the slide together to talk about the security. But I'll talk through it. If you have any questions, I can put you through. I think I have a class uh, on security, and I have a course on security and managing your crypto assets. But first things first, we're approaching a critical period in the bull run where the price is going to go through the roof. You are not going to believe your eyes in a few months' time when you open your wallet. Because of that, there's going to be a lot of rampant nefarious activity because people want to scam guys out of their coins. So it's the same whole trick. First principles, phishing attack. What is phishing attack? Phishing attack is, they throw a hook into your email. You catch the hook, then you bite the bait. Once you bite the bait, you are caught up. Once they catch you, they compromise your email. From compromising your email to compromise other things. And before you know it, your cryptocurrency, especially exchange wallets, gets compromised. So first things first, if you don't have two-factor authentication on your email address, set it up immediately. I mean, I don't want to talk too much about the theories. I'm just going to, take practical steps that need to be taken and need to be taken immediately because I've had somebody call me, for instance, saying that he keeps getting a call from people who claim to be um, crypto.com staff that his card has been compromised. And as a result, they want him to, they'll tell him his address, tell him a number of things that they know about him, and then they start proceeding to asking him what assets does he have that they need to confirm which assets he has on his crypto.com account. He said at that point he got uncomfortable, so he called me. So I said, of course, you can't tell anybody. If somebody is asking you and he says it's the staff, then it's not the staff because if it's the staff, it will have an idea of what assets are in your exchange wallet. So I told him that well, you needed to cancel that card at the minimum and ask for another one that's going to cost him £50 instead of risking them wiping out his accounts. And the only thing that saved him actually was because Crypto.com has this one-time password stuff that helps you to, you know, um, secure your account such that if somebody wants to log in from another wallet, I mean from another device, for instance, it's going to ask to send the one-time password to your phone, and then it's going to send to your email. So Crypto.com as a company already implemented that form. But what I'm saying is on your email, if you do not have um, two-factor authentication, meaning authentication by phone, authentication by Google Authenticator, or even the external Google device that authenticates for business accounts, you need to set it up immediately because the first vulnerability point for your crypto investment is your email address. And if you've been with me since last year, you will remember I said that in setting up your crypto account, for those that started taking the courses with me from last year, I said, let your crypto account email be separate from your normal email. The reason is that one, you don't want any traffic coming into that particular account, in as much as you don't want people sending you phishing attacks as well. Ideally, that's the ideal position to be in which you have a new email that's dedicated solely to your crypto accounts, and your exchange accounts are tied to those email or that email address. That's the first thing that you need to ensure. Secondly, ensure that your web wallet. So when I mean web wallet, you have what you call hot wallets that are decentralized, like MetaMask is the most common one that you can install in your browser. You have Phantom Wallet, you have Solflare, you have, I think Binance Change has one that you can install. Now, I'm a bit wary of MetaMask web wallet, and I will tell you why. MetaMask web wallet has the highest number, I mean, that I've seen this year, has the highest number of intrusion so far. I mean, I have people that are very close. I mean, two people at least I can say. Two people on this call have had their MetaMask wallet compromised and funds withdrawn from it. What's the mechanism of attack? One of the mechanism of attack is if the attacker sort of bugs a decentralized platform. So let's say you go to PancakeSwap, or you go to Snow White Swap, you go to Bakery Swap, and then the attacker has what you call a sniffer, which is like a malware that sniffs the activities on that account. If it successfully sniffs your wallet and sees that your wallet is a web wallet, because you would have authorized your web wallet to allow transactions from that platform, it's possible that I'm just theorizing here, the mechanism of attack, that they will simulate that web wallet, they will simulate the platform that your web wallet is allowing to do transactions, so like Uniswap or PancakeSwap. And as a result, they can issue smart contracts against your web wallet in your absence. And, the transactions will go through because you will have active connections to those web wallets, to those web platform, web DeFi platform. So one way to prevent against that is to use decentralized wallets on your phone. There are some that you can use on your phone and connect to the web when you need to, and then you can disconnect it on your phone once you are done. But I'm wary of MetaMask web wallets because it's an online wallet in the real sense of it, and is exposed to the kind of vulnerability I just explained. So I use MetaMask, like I don't use MetaMask, but it's more like a transit arrangement in my own case. The other one that's very common is exchange wallets, and that's the one I started with. So exchange wallets are really like, in some cases, they're just like database entries because they're not sitting on the blockchain for the most part. Exchange wallets are sitting on the database of the centralized exchanges, and they simulate the structure of the blockchain network in the way they set up the addresses and the hash. However, it's still an hot wallet and can be easily breached. How can it be breached? If your email is breached and your phone number is breached, like a SYN swap get conducted on your line, then your exchange wallet can be easily breached. There are also direct attacks to exchanges where the exchange gets hacked. Because the exchanges nowadays have become very, very liquid and highly buoyant financially, they're usually able to cover for it. So for instance, KuCoin was hacked in 2019. Binance was hacked in 2018. Both funds largely restored. The Binance one, they literally just shut off those accounts. So they were trying to cut away with Bitcoins, but they were never able to use the Bitcoin because they were blacklisted on the blockchain through the validators and the miners. So that Bitcoin was essentially useless, and Binance refunded everybody. Same thing with KuCoin. Everybody that lost their coins got refunded. Then they went after the guys and got their money back. So it's increasingly more difficult for people to successfully execute that in centralized exchanges. So in terms of security, if the access to your centralized exchange is very secure, chances are your funds are safe. Somebody was raising a question yesterday about Binance. I heard something about Binance that people should move their money away. So I said, well, you need to clarify that point because The information I had was that some people had issues with futures. For people that play in futures, you know that futures is a no man's land and it's not meant for everybody. So, but what I was saying was that there was an issue with some people's account. I didn't have any issue with my futures account, and that's people who are affected were being refunded. And I mean, true to nature, it was even the CEO CZ that mentioned it himself on Twitter to say that okay, there's some that we understand some people have issue with just we'll sort them out and refund them and take care of them. So exchanges are very, very largely very safe these days. So if for instance somebody hacks Coinbase, Coinbase has insurance, somebody has Kraken or Gemini, they have insurance, they have money now, they are very, very liquid. Like I said, money has left savings accounts into exchanges. So exchanges are quite liquid now. Some of them are already into insurance arrangements, some of them have guarantee of funds in places. So, and some of them are very, the technical capabilities and the clout to go after invaders. So it makes them really formidable in terms of defense. In as much as the ideology of crypto and blockchain is to be in direct control of your money, not everybody wants to be in direct control of their money. So exchanges are going to be around for a long time, either centralized or decentralized exchanges. The second highest level is having decentralized wallets for decentralized wallet applications. So, for example, Coinbase wallets, Trust wallets, SafePower wallets, My Ethereum wallets are very common example of decentralized phone-based wallets. So they are like downloadable apps on Apple Store, Apple Store or Play Store on Android. Now, how do these ones work? So these applications are connected directly to the Bitcoin, to any network, essentially. When you want to move coins on them, what happens is that because those applications are connected directly to underlying blockchain network, it creates a blockchain account for you when you download and set up the wallet. So let's say Trust Wallet. It creates a blockchain account for you. Once you say, I want to include Bitcoin, it creates a Bitcoin blockchain account for you. When you say I want to include Ethereum, create an Ethereum blockchain account for you. What that then does is you have an address, you have a unique address to your blockchain wallet. And from there, you can send and transfer funds. Like somebody will ask, how do they make money? They make money because they charge a transaction fee on top of the network fees that will normally be charged on the blockchain. It's a very small fraction of what is being charged on the network, and it's barely noticeable for most of the applications. So, but they serve as custody solutions that help people to, in a simpler way, manage their blockchain wallets. They are secure to the extent to which your Kwame, can you please mute your mics? Thank you. They are secure to the extent to which your passphrase or password, depending on how it's been secured, is not compromised. So many of them have a 24-word or a 12-word passphrase that only you can access and gives you access to move the money. Anybody that has the passphrase or the passkey has the money, essentially. So usually what they will say is, when setting up the account, you need to write down the passphrase somewhere and keep it somewhere safe. If you are too technical or if you are too electronic, personal advice, you can copy it, paste it into a blank Excel, encrypt the Excel, meaning put a password on the Excel, and then save the Excel somewhere safe. That's the electronic alternative. But then it means that you can never forget the password of that Excel. Because if you forget the password of the Excel, I don't know anybody that's able to crack Excel password or passworded Excel file. So that's another way to do it. But usually the advice is to write it down physically, so that so what happens in this kind of, just to explain why this is actually a very good option. What happens in this kind of scenarios? If for whatever reason your phone gets lost or damaged, your money is safe as long as you have those passphrases, because all you have to do is on your next phone, just reinstall the application and say you want to recover an old wallet or import an old wallet, and it will ask you to provide the credentials. If you're able to provide the credentials, automatically it launches your old account. I remember buying zero point 0.1 Bitcoin in 2017. I'm not sure whether it was on Luno or was on blockchain.com. And I didn't know about that passphrase stuff. I just probably just dropped it somewhere. And in 2019, when I woke up, I discovered I couldn't find it. And there was nothing I could do. So it's important that you have a way of storing that. That's about the most secure. The most secure, yeah, it's the same thing really. They talk about hardware wallets like Ledger and Trezor. Hardware wallets are really like physical tokens of your blockchain wallet. And how does this work? So instead of having it on the phone, the companies that operate those wallets, they have an app. When you plug the devices are usually like USBs. When you plug them to the computer, the devices have their own authentication level. So they have their own 24-word passphrase and password. And when you plug them in, you need to supply the passphrase and password to have access to that device. When you have access to that device now gives you access to the blockchain account that is linked to the device. While it's a good one, I've not had a good experience with it because I bought a Ledger one time and I was trying to recover to another laptop. It was telling me that my password was not correct. It was telling me some strange story, essentially. Thankfully, I had not put anything on it, so I just left it there. But I mean, for people who are extreme paranoia or you want to skip it somewhere safe, you have a lot of billions. It's another option. But what it then means is that if that's if that device gets stolen and you can't find your passport, that money is gone. Just like the guy that had 1.6 million Bitcoin or something. No, 100 and something thousand Bitcoin in his hard drive, and he threw it in the UK. It was an IT contractor, and he threw it in the trash. So he wanted the local government to give him authority to go and open up the landfill that the hard disk was put. And I mean, he even got venture capitalists who are ready to give him money to recover that Bitcoin, but the local government said no, they weren't going to allow it. So, in short, what am I saying about keeping your wallet safe? It's very important. You will have all sorts of, so you will have information from people who are interested in airdrops. They will tell you to fill a form. Please don't fill any airdrop at this point in time for your best interest, because in times past, when people were filling airdrops, I would say whatever wallet you are using for airdrop, make sure no money of yours is sitting in that wallet, because essentially you have exposed that wallet to the outside world by filling those forms. So it's important that if you are the airdrop prone type, ensure that whatever wallet you are submitting, it's not the same wallet that you have your funds in. I think that's all I'll say for now. And okay, yes, in terms, because most people have their money in exchanges, if you follow the basic authentication levels that you have on places like Binance, you should be fine. So what are the authentication levels? You have Google Authenticator or Authy, you have SMS authentication, you have email authentication, and you have what you call anti-phishing code. Anti-phishing code is the code that gets sent by the exchanges anytime they send you an email. The reason they ask you to choose an anti-phishing code is to ensure that when the email comes from them, or an email that appears to be coming from them comes in, if the anti-phishing code is not on top of that email, then that email is not from them. It's a scam email and might contain a malware that might compromise your email address. So it's important that you have your anti-phishing code set up, you have your email authentication set up, you have your Google Authenticator, and then you have SMS authentication as an additional backup on all exchanges that you have funds in. With that, I think you should largely be fine, and ensure that you don't have any month. As to ensure that you don't have any month that you don't log into those wallets, especially, I mean, those exchange wallets, especially if you're looking to keep the coins for the long term there. The reason being that some of them will just automatically expire your Google Authenticator, then it becomes an issue and you start dragging with support on and they start asking you to fill form that you've lost your Google Authenticator. When what has happened in actual fact is that they've expired it because of inactivity. Okay, I think I've taken too much time today. So 2 questions I've seen on the chat. What's the re-entry point for Bitcoin? For me, I will start to re-enter at 55,000 if it comes there anytime soon. It might go as low as 53,000, but there's no guarantee. As I showed on the chart, 53,600 and something is 20% point. But because there is a lot of interest now and there's a lot of hype, if the market dips that low, chances are people will have front-run that position and they will have bought up the dip and might not allow it to get there. But definitely, I'll be waiting for the correction below 60K. That's what I'm saying. The coins which have already done all-time high this year still have the potential of doing another all-time high. Yeah. The same way Bitcoin already did all-time high this year, is now going for another all-time high before the final all-time high. So, for people who are already on WhatsApp group, you understand that I told you that for alts that's in profits, you're better off keeping them in Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Litecoin, or Ethereum, as long as Bitcoin dominance is going up, because those alts will not move significantly as long as Bitcoin is moving very rapidly, the way it has just done today. If we have back-to-back movement like this for the next 3 days, some altcoins will just flatten out and not move at all. So if you have altcoins that are already in profits, it makes sense to move them to Bitcoin or to move the profits to Bitcoin at this point in time to maximize the gains. Because what's then happen is, if we take it, let's say, so if in the scenario I've plotted on the charts, if we went to 67K, then back to 55, and then we slingshot for like 78 or 80, the process of Bitcoin moving through those prices will literally kill any movement of any alt significantly, because they all to be waiting on what the price of Bitcoin is going to get to before they start moving. So you might not make any significant gains on alts during that period. And that's the rationale for asking people to move profits into Bitcoin in advance of the movement. But of course, once Bitcoin dominance starts to drop, then might be a good place to switch into major alts. Yeah, I think I've answered all the questions. If you have any question on Instagram, just type it in. If you have any question on Zoom, you can type it in the chat or you can unmute your mic. I'll close in another 3 minutes. Okay, so Muriel, in case I didn't answer your question, now what do you do with alts while Bitcoin is going back and forth? Exactly. Stay in Bitcoin or stay in alts. Because at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. I'm just, the scenario I just painted is really from a perspective of a swing trader. In the real sense of it, it doesn't really make much. Yeah, it makes some difference in the real sense of it. So let's say you have $1,000 in Kusama, $1,000 in Bitcoin. Bitcoin is moving by 10 or 20%. It goes up and becomes 1,002. Kusama is not moving. What will happen is, if Bitcoin moves to 1,002 and stays there, Kusama will move from 1,000 to probably 1,005 or 1,006 when it eventually moves. So it might not move at the same time, but it is eventually going to move. So if you can't, be worried about the up and down movement, just leave the alts. Because at the end of the day, whenever Bitcoin establishes its final all-time high for the cycle, at least altcoins are going to pump for 2 weeks. That's the very minimum, 2 to 6 weeks. There will be serious altcoin pumps. And the reason being that, as I've explained before, market makers cannot exit their exalted market positions in Bitcoin without crashing the market structure. So for them to exit, they just basically exchange all the Bitcoin for altcoins, which drives the price of altcoins crazy. And then they exchange altcoins for fiat currencies or stable coins. So that's the play. I believe I've answered the question properly now. So if there are no other questions, I'll be happy to have you have a nice weekend and see you again next week. For the guys on Instagram, thank you for joining. See you again next week. So you have a question on Dr. Lallery?
Thank you very much, Dr. Demi. Sorry, I was in the church when the program started. So, in how many hours time will this thing be available on YouTube? Okay, it's live there, though. So it will be available.
Yeah, it's live. Yeah, it's like once I close this.
All right, so I'll
go close this call. Yeah, it's become available on YouTube. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah. So for the benefits of everyone, we have a YouTube channel called Crypto Pulse Weekly. So if you need any of the weekly sessions, at least up until more than a year now, I think we'll have them. I also have them on Instagram Live, that the videos as well. My Instagram is Demix, DEMMINX. So you can get the videos if you didn't get everything coming from the beginning. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a lovely weekend and see you again next week. Bye.
Okay. Thank you very much, Doc.
Cheers.